Pepsi commercial.
Oh.
Good. Okay. Wow. Are you getting all this? They're so big.
I don't know why I want to go in there.
I know, I want to go in it.
I'm gonna clock out and take a nap.
Honestly, it's like the cozy den.
Yeah.
Sit. Come.
I love his dumb little face.
Straight up, you know, little cut off when you walk down.
So Davis, again, like we talked about a little bit, redirecting issues primarily.
Yes.
Is kind of the big issue. Okay.
I was actually really surprised when we walked in here.
How well he did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like,
That's more normal than you think.
he would have been really whining,
Yeah,
really like over the top. So I was like,
Yeah.
is this my dog? Like,
Yeah.
So,
You know what's really interesting about stuff like that is like we'll see that almost 100% of the time with dogs that are like reactive is when they come here the first time, you see almost none of it because they're so overwhelmed by everything going on. You know, if you look at reactivity at its core, right, it's kind of like a mentally dominant game that these dogs play where they hyper-fixate on one thing, right? So the more things there are, they can't really split their brain very effectively onto all of those things. So we'll see typically that the reactions are more subdued unless you're in a scenario like I think you described it like the pack walk where it's like it's subdued, and then it just kind of explodes out at one thing once like the pressure is too high. So they're concerned about other dogs, and if we look at reactivity, it's typically like a spectrum, right? It's not like a lot of people look at like aggression or reactivity or anxiety and stuff like that as like an on-off switch, right? Where it's like the dog is either reacting or they're not reacting kind of thing, which obviously we want to get it from reacting to not reacting, but typically speaking, we have to see them go through this progression before they get to that point, as opposed to it just being like, okay, they're reacting, then we've stopped the reactivity. You know what I mean? And in order to get them past that, typically in my experience what this stuff looks like is we give some sort of clear direction so we could have something to hold the dog accountable to, obviously. Let's say hypothetically the sit right now because you have him in a sit, right? So he's in the sit and he's concerned about the dog over there. A lot of times what we'll see at first is the dog's used to reacting, so they'll just fully break the sit and start reacting, right? We need to figure out a way to obviously hold them accountable and get them realizing you still have to stay in the sit, right? Yep. So we get them to hold the sit then at that point, and then usually what we'll see it turn into is they'll hold the sit, but that they'll just be like, you know, like making a bunch of noise and wound up and all this kind of stuff, right? And where most people get it wrong is at that point, they'll continue to try to correct the behavior because it's like, well, he's still reacting, right? He's still aroused, he's still vocalizing, whatever, right? But that's kind of the first step where he's saying, this is really hard for me right now. That dog is right there and I'm used to getting up and reacting, but I'm making the decision to hold this position on my own, but I'm still concerned about it, right? As that progressions, what we'll see is that kind of really aroused, I'm holding the sit and I'm whining and I'm shaking all over the place and stuff like that, will turn into maybe just subtle whining and staring, right? Then the subtle whining and staring turns into just the staring, right? Then just the staring turns into I'm gonna stare and then I'm gonna check away for a minute and then I'm gonna stare again and then I'm gonna check away for a little bit and then I'm gonna stare. Then it kind of progressively turns into I just am chill with this, you know what I mean? And I think that, you know, because it's them displaying that they're concerned, by us getting on those displays of them being concerned where they haven't made the mistake yet, but we know they're thinking about making the mistake, you keep them in this cycle of being concerned, and the micromanaging, again, just kind of causes them to just escalate and like bottle it up and just explode, you know? So yeah, that scenario right there, I didn't see him do anything wrong. I saw him be like, hey, there's a dog over there, and I'm keeping my eyes on it, you know?
He's always like...
You got it? Yeah, I've seen a little bit like cueing him up, like well, almost like you're kind of stopping and waiting for him to like, Davis, you know, before you give that command. Where I go into all these scenarios with the expectation that he should always have one ear turned to as enough where if I give a command, he should be compliant with it, obviously. Same deal with the bending over, giving help with your down. Not that hand commands are bad by any means, but we want to make sure that he's listening to us and listening to our verbals.
I see what you're saying, and I think a lot of it has to do with like... I still have work mode in me. You know,
I totally get it.
It's like sideways.
And this is where, yeah. I get it. And again, teaching stages, we're using a lot of help with things, right? But this dog is out of teaching stages. This dog knows this stuff, right? All right, so we'll have him hang out there. I'm gonna grab a dog real quick. I'm just gonna walk around right over this area and I wanna see what he does. I'm just gonna hang out here for a minute. Again, you see the little quiver and he's staring and stuff. That's all totally fine as long as he maintains command. Same deal. Bunch of dogs coming in. Of course he's gonna look at the dogs coming in. That's startling, you know what I mean? As long as he holds himself together. It's the only thing that I care about. Pretty good. Now see how he's kind of starting to engage his nose a little bit as well? Now obviously I'm not going to let him get up and come sniff the dog or anything right now. But the natural progression that you're kind of seeing of like, I'm concerned, I don't know what's going on, I'm going to kind of avoid, but I'm a little curious, right? We want to see it shift quicker to that. And that's what I mean about this all on a spectrum moving in the right direction. And we have to allow him to internalize this and go through all of those emotions. We can't just go in and stop them all, you know? Cool, tell him heel and bring him on this way. And then go ahead and pick a spot kind of over at the end of the van and then stop and just give your down command. No cues or anything with this. Give him a second. Perfect. All right, so I'm gonna grab another dog now and I'm gonna walk by this way and we'll see what we get if it's anything different outside. He's getting all sorts of distractions today. Same deal, don't worry about the staring. If you want, you could position yourself on the other side of him.
Yeah, I'm running 3. I'm running half.
I'll just hang out here for a minute. Again, whining and stuff, don't worry about it. I purposely picked like the most excitable dog I could here. Get myself knocked over. Hold on, dude. It's pretty good. Not too shabby, big guy. He's like, I'm proving you wrong.
Right? It's like I'm poking my reactive dog with a stick.
I know. It's like, do it, do it.
Good.
Nice.
Okay, give me another one. Bring another one out.
Yeah, right? Just gonna kind of walk around a little bit here. Again, whining, a little concern, obviously. It's hard for him. He's used to acting a fool, so. Nice, it's pretty good. I'll take it. All right, let me put this dude away real quick. Let's just go right over here. We'll let these cars and stuff go by and just pop them into a down.
What's that?
Pop them into a down, loose on your leash.
Down.
Give him a second. If he doesn't do it, mark with no. Tell him down again. Give him a second. Perfect.
Point of worrying about positioning.
Not at all. So this is other places where I vary from like a lot of other trainers. I always say obedience is for functional purpose. That's it, right? We are not training a competition dog here, right? If we were doing that, we would not be doing all of this right now, right?
Yeah.
So the things that I look at as far as my expectation with things, I don't even get crazy with a heel, right? We teach a come command, which is our universal come to me and stay with me.
Yeah.
Basically, the expectation is just keep your attention on me and stay in my bubble with me, you know? Because again, looser criteria, more strict about the expectation of that position. Then at that point, same deal with if I tell my dog sit and they lay down, I don't give a shit, right? Like if you're more comfortable laying down, like I'm not gonna nag you over that, right? Honestly, with our board and trains, we don't even teach a sit. We teach a down command. That's it. Because it's like I've never in my life run into a situation where I need a sit command over a down command. You know what I mean? There's not a single one, right? So all of that kind of stuff, like, you know, given the fact that my typical expectation with come is be in my bubble, if I tell my dog down while I'm walking, they could down in front of me, to the side of me, behind me. I don't care, as long as you get in the position.
Okay.
So, again, just looser criteria to be more strict about the expectation with it.
Okay.
We'll let some of these cars go by here, and then we'll just start walking a little bit. There's not a ton of minutes out, but just want to kind of see how he does in a new environment. Yeah, you got to some extent turn that off. I always say I want to be aware that my dog has potential to do something at any point, right? But outside of that, like whatever reason he's doing it, unless he makes a mistake, I'm not going to be super worried about it. I'll watch, right? So like since there is a sliver of a possibility that every time we pass a person or a dog right now, there's a potential he may react, I will preemptively, at least until I start feeling like I've really got a handle on things, give myself plenty of space. So right there, how you kind of walk straight past, not that I have a huge problem with that, but like we talked about earlier when we were walking, if he were to have lunged there, he would have been able to actually get to them all the way, right? So I always create just enough distance where I don't have to worry too much. Is it intent? Is it not intent? I could just watch him and see, does he make a mistake or does he not make a mistake? You know what I mean? So you kind of just go into all the situations like that where it's like, you know, maybe he'll do it, maybe he won't do it, but unless he does it, I'm not super concerned about it. I think you just need a little bit more direction as far as how to take this stuff to the next step. And this is what I see with most trainers. just in general, how they coach their clients and stuff like that, is they coach the clients really, really well through teaching stages of things, but just that real world application, there's just something missing, you know? And that's why a lot of the clients aren't able to be successful, and they're kind of stuck in this quote unquote like management stage forever, when the only reason why it's that is because you're not holding the dog to the standard of which they know, you know?
And looking back, I guess I was never giving him the time to process
Sure.
things that he's going through. In between, like, oh my God, is he gonna do this?
Yeah.
Am I gonna correct him? Like,
Yeah. You know, there's a process for all of it, you know, and you have to be fair and empathetic. So there's going to be some situations that, at least right now, as we're starting to work through this, are going to be too hard for him, you know. But you know, he could definitely get past this stuff. Okay, yeah, so I'm not seeing anything too crazy. Like, obviously there's a lot more things we got to take a look at. Like, today was kind of just like a baseline. Where is he at with stuff? Where are you at with stuff? And like, what sorts of things are going to be ultimately what help you out? He knows everything, right? That's very apparent. He knows how to do all of these individual things, right? You're nagging him a little too much and having too like strict of a criteria that's not allowing him to really get past some of these actual emotions. You know what I mean? So in the immediate, from an obedience standpoint, the two things that I could see you do here is only look at what your expectation is. Forget the looking, forget why he's doing the things, forget this, forget that. Just focus on, you need to stay in position, right? You need to stay in position, whatever it may be, right? And loosen up your criteria with your walking just a little bit. You should always be walking him on that loose leash right now. If you're finding yourself, and it's such a bad, hard habit to break, if you're finding yourself choking up on that leash, you're doing him a disservice, because you're never allowing him to really understand where he needs to stay. Second thing, accountability-wise, I mean, he worked at like a 70 to an 80 pretty much the whole session today. So I'm not saying that's going to be the case at home, obviously, but what I'm saying is you're probably big time underwhelming him with corrections. The beginning of the walk, when I was watching you walk him, I couldn't even tell you were correcting him with the e-collar. I mean, he wasn't giving a shit about it at all, right? And you need to look at that and be like, what's the point of the e-collar? We could talk all day long about, oh, it's a positive, and the dog should like it, and it's just communication, this and that. We're applying an aversive to stop a behavior. That's the point of an e-collar, you know what I mean? So you have to make sure the aversive is aversive enough, obviously, right? So play around with it a little bit, you know? We don't want him yipping and yelping every time we hit it, obviously, but we do need to see that he cares about that correction and fixes himself, right? We still need to look at socialization, obviously. I'm still curious to see where he's at really socially with things. And, you know, obviously there's some more proofing and like inside of the house things and stuff like that that we got to take a look at. You know, we're kind of just scratching the surface of some of it. But I think that there is a lot for you to accomplish with this dog still.
Listening.
I like it.
More chill too.
Not as much. I know you're saying a lot of pacing and stuff you were getting out of her.
Not at all anymore.
No.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
She's really good, and she seems happy.
Good. You know,
Except when we came here, she was like panicking.
yeah, right? She's like, are you leaving me again? What's going on?
She's like, oh shit.
Okay, cool. What would you say your...
Has her days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What would you say your biggest issues you've been having are?
Just Millie, I mean,
Millie's still a little crazy.
Yeah.
general.
She
Listening.
doesn't come still, like when she's in the yard.
Sure.
And we have to do a lot of like zapping of Millie.
Yep.
Enid, not so much.
Yep. Okay.
No, Enid really listens. She's good. And on the walk, she's
Mark's the main disciplinarian.
in the beginning,
Oh yeah.
she takes a little while to walk. I mean,
You're talking Millie or Enid?
Millie.
Enid's
Millie.
been so good.
Good. No like dead weighting or anything like she used to do?
no.
No.
Cool.
And Millie really is trying to please. She just, like, she'll get ahead and then she'll look behind and, like, stop. And then they get ahead and look behind.
She's trying.
She's
Yeah.
looking like,
She is
am I doing this
trying.
right? You know?
Okay.
I mean, they're doing well.
Good. All right. So you said recall, so the come command she's having a little bit of a hard time with still, obviously. The walk, a little bit at the beginning. Outside of that, is there anywhere else you're seeing that she's particularly not listening or anything like that?
Just, you know, she's a lot better.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
I got you.
For the most part, she's good, but you know, she's still a puppy too. So.
Sure, sure. Okay, cool.
No, she does beds every day.
Okay, yeah.
That's the only way to get like
It's a pretty convenient command. Down.
Wow.
Good. A lot of times when they first come back here, you know, once we fade the rewards out and stuff, it takes them a couple minutes to get in the swing, and they're kind of good with it. This is a very important next step because obviously, like we talked about, that first week or 2 weeks in your guys' case, we want to just kind of develop a working relationship, just get her used to working with you guys, understanding there's rewards and there's consequences. At this point, we're just holding her to a higher standard with it. Kind of like what I texted you the other day. Like at this point, we know she knows these things. She's just choosing not to do them if she's not doing it, you know. This is where you see the difference in personality, where like Enid obviously is much more just kind of go with the flow, willing to please with stuff. So it doesn't take a lot to get her to like be compliant with stuff. Millie, on the other hand, has a little bit of a stubborn streak at times. Okay, come on. Ace, good job. That was pretty good. No jumping, I see too. I like it.
Oh yeah, we've been
I like
I've been
mostly no jumping, we'll say. All right. Millie, come on.
She's been pretty good.
Yeah, no, that looked great. So this kind of goes to show, again, exactly like what I texted you the other day. This is just an accountability issue at this point. So if you're finding that she's not listening to you, likely you just need a higher level or more consistency with that level. We're at about a 40 right now. That's what she's working at, yeah. Yeah, which I wanted you to do for the first week, you know, so.
Well, Enid, you go ahead. She's wit. I mean, she's like a different dog though. She's more chill.
Yeah. Again, it's funny, like all joking aside, like you're talking about like it doesn't take much to like stimulate her brain, obviously. That's what they need, and because you're kind of seeing through just applying just a little structure and a little bit of training and a little bit of discipline that you can give that stimulation, you start to see all that kind of stress go away because all that mental exercise is going into something, you know? Where without it, they resort to kind of like expending it in other ways that are typically more inappropriate.
Yeah, pacing.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Okay, I know, it's so much work. All right, so next what we're gonna do is we're gonna start kind of pairing the commands together a little bit together. So what we'll do is we'll work through our come command, our down stays, our bed stays, but doing it with them at the same time. Enid, Millie, bed. Much better. Good. An unlikely duo. Falling asleep on us? Good. Okay, come on, let's go. You just pop them on that bed, just let them chill there for a little bit.
Hey, girls, Enid, Millie's bed.
So I'm the one that needs to work on mine.
Yeah, I mean, listen, like they're doing it with you, but yeah, there definitely is something to be said about like having fun with the training, you know? And especially at home when they're looser and stuff, you know, like that'll be easier.
Listening really good at home, except Millie in the yard is not listening.
And it's with the come command, right?
It's also that I just happen to do it more. It's not.
Sure. Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, in the yard, as far as the listen, that's going to be probably just a much higher level, you know? If she's distracted by squirrels and birds and this and that.
Enid,
Yeah.
She's fine. She's out. And
For sure.
She's outside quick and wants
Yeah.
to come back in. Millie kind of.
My one dog is like that. She just dilly-dallies in the yard, you know? And same deal, like once every couple months, I need to just spend a couple of days just with the e-collar set at a higher level just to kind of reel it back in, you know? Because same deal, we got a lot of animals and stuff. There's a lot of land back there and stuff that they can get into. So that's just something with her. Just get on that a little bit more, you know, and get it nice and sharp. So, but this...
We're really impressed.
This looks awesome. I mean, they look good. You know, all things considered with their individual quirks and stuff, like this looks fantastic. So I'm pleased with
Like I
it.
said, they're pretty good for the most part.
And just Enid's anxiety level is so different.
Yeah, she's definitely a lot chiller, which is phenomenal.
At night, like we don't have, you know,
Oh, it used to be a nice.
we used to have to pull her off of the bed, like hardcore.
drag her.
Yeah.
And she didn't want to go.
Put the brakes
in
on.
the room, and now it's like, I just say, Enid, come, and she gets out of bed and she's on her couch in the other room.
She knows.
Hell yeah. She knows the routine.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, so,
Look at Millie. She's like falling asleep.
Yeah, right. They look great, so keep working with them with this stuff for a little bit. If you're having issues still with the backyard stuff and you feel like you're just not getting anywhere with it, let me know, obviously. And then as it gets nicer out and you start going more places with them, and notice if you start seeing any issues or anything, and if you do, again, we can do a follow-up to tighten those things up. But they look really good. It looks like you guys got a pretty good handle on stuff right now.
Yeah.
Hopefully you're enjoying it though, at least to some extent, working with them and stuff. Yeah, so.
It's just nice having dogs that listen to you.
Yeah. It's the truth.
Yeah, really.
Just didn't, neither one of them had listened to us before. So.
Yeah.
It's,
Cool.
It's really good. We're happy.
Good stuff. And was just at the door panicking, you know what I mean? And it wasn't like in the grand scheme of like really bad crane anxiety, it wasn't that bad, you know what I mean? It was just like he was just like, where are you going? Oh my God, So what we did was, because she had like a little camera like on him, is I took the e-collar remote. I was like, all right, we're gonna go out on the patio outside. And I cranked the e-collar up to like 80, and I was like, we can't mark with no or anything. I was like, I want to see him put himself into a down in the crate, right? So I just tap, wait, tap, wait, tap, wait, tap, wait. Took like 10 taps probably of him just at the door panicking. Then he laid down, and we, for probably another 20 minutes, sat outside and went upstairs, came back down, went upstairs, came back down, and he didn't get up out of that down the whole time, right? And at some point, like near the end, he got up, but not because he was really anxious, just because he was like adjusting. I tapped, he went right back into the down on the single tap at that point. And I told her, I was like, now, when we leave the house, this is not the expectation. When we leave the house, there's no way we're gonna be able to be 100% consistent about enforcing this down. The reason why we're working this drill right now is because I wanna implement the bark collar, which will solve the actual problem, which is you're concerned that he's making noise when you're not home and it's disrupting your neighbors. This will ensure he's not making noise.
Yeah.
But doing this drill before we go to add the bark collar positions us where when he feels that correction, he's gonna start to associate it with putting himself into the down position. So we're doing this work right now, not because we necessarily care that he lays down, but it gives him a more clear direction as far as what to do when he starts feeling that sensation when he's barking, which will help him settle down even a little bit better.
Okay.
Right? And like I said, he did super well with it. She was very responsive to it. We, then after that, just for the sake of just keeping the session going, we took him for a walk. She lives like right like Cedar Lee. So we walked him by all like the bars and stuff, and it was like, there's people out and everything. And she said that he's been really good on the walks, but she's seen a little bit of kind of a slow decline with him starting to get more distracted on the walk, which I told her is very normal, obviously, like post-board train. I was like, he's literally been home. I also told her, I was like, he's literally been home for 3 weeks. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, these are all normal problems that you're gonna experience, right? So I told her, we typically see that as a result of our motivation not being high enough, which was the case. Honestly, her timing was great. She was enforcing things very, very well. She was too low on her e-collar for a lot of stuff, though. And, she said the typical thing that I hear a lot of clients say with the crate anxiety when we were working that, when I kind of cranked it up to like 70, 80 for it, she's like, I was trying to correct for barking, I was trying to correct for whining. She's like, and I even like at one point got up to a 70. I was like, every correction I just gave was higher than that. Yeah. So like, just letting her know, like, it's okay. Like overdoing it is not going to hurt anything. You know what I mean? Like at this stage and things, like overdoing the correction just means we're going to get the point across faster. And then I showed her how to kind of incorporate that on the walk and stuff and whatever. It was kind of just like like, let me go there and just let you know, I get it. Right? I understand why you're frustrated with stuff. Yeah. Here are some really, really tactical solutions that will solve the problem, right? We redefined in her head what success in the crate was. Success in the crate is not him loving the crate. Success in the crate is not him never whining again in the crate. Success in the crate is you being able to leave and go to work and be confident that he's not barking and annoying your neighbors. Yeah. That's it. And she was cool with that. She felt really good at the end of the session. I was like, do you feel better about stuff? She's like, yes, I'm so sorry, whatever, this, that, like.
She's really nice.
So it was good.
happy.